Welcome to this DeBacco University video. Here I want to go over EasyClone for the cannabis cloning process, setting up the physical system. If you want to know how to actually take the clones, I have other videos on that. But let's go over the setup of the EasyClone system for cannabis cloning. All right, let's make sure all the mechanics will be working so when you take your clones, they'll be going into a good environment. Well, first off, we want to be mindful that the reason why I chose the EasyClone is it's the industry standard. There's many options, but this is considered just to be one of the standards, and hopefully you'll have roots that will look like this or even better. There's many other designs that copy the EasyClone basic system, which is, again, a sign it's probably pretty effective. It is very efficient and simple system, and that's kind of the reason why there's so many copies. So you don't have to specifically use this EasyClone actual system that I'm going to show here. A lot of the basics will apply to other systems, but I chose that one here just as a representative sample, and hopefully you find it helpful and increase the odds of success with your own plants. Okay, so here we're going to be looking at the EasyClone system. It's a very efficient aeroponic cloner. What we're looking at here at the very top is all the nice little foam discs here. These would be utilized to hold the plants. So when we're looking at taking our clones and harvesting our clones, if they were this pen, for example, we would simply go through, take a clone about that long, and then insert it into the foam disc. That then allows this to be held, and that will simply go into the area here. We'll have our little clones here. Now what occurs on the underside? Well, on the underside, this is where all of the water pump is and all the water will be. So on the inside here, we'll notice we have this water pump. Now this water pump simply takes in water and then sprays it out of all of these little jets here. What does that create? Well, that creates a very high humidity, heavy mist environment right here. Why is that important? Well, if we look at kind of the underside here, you can see where I still have the pen. This is where our roots are going to be initially formed. We want to keep that area dark, which we can see here, and also high moisture to reduce the stress on the plants. So our plants will all be kind of here, or clones with no roots initially. This will then create a very favorable environment for them to root. And this simple water pump just constantly runs, running 24 hours a day, and that will just kind of keep that area well misted. So that offers a great advantage to be able to kind of offer a favorable area for that rooting to occur. You also notice on the tank here, there is a, on the underside here, there is an area to easily drain it. That is great to easily drain it when you want to. Keep in mind that if you are initially filling this, you want to make sure that's closed and set and that no water is going to drain out when you go through and fill it. So you can see, fairly easy, simple system. This is the official EasyClone name brand, if you will. There's many different kind of copycats or kind of different types of competitors out there. This is kind of where it all originated, and this really offers a nice, very efficient system. And let's see setting it up in a small grow tent. So here we're looking at the 2x2 grow tent that's going to house our 64 EasyClone. What we're noticing right here is a Dimilux 315 watt CMH ceramic metal halide light. That's going to provide the even light source here for all of the plants. I've got a couple systems off right now. We'll see those kind of implemented as I go through and turn them all, get them all working together. But right now I've got the light, testing that out, and down here is ultimately where the EasyClone is going to go. Keep in mind, just because they're clones, air circulation is still important. And here we're in an office, so we also want to make sure that we have a carbon filter to reduce any potential odors. Also going to set up the water monitoring system to our EasyClone. But let's go ahead and just simply install the basic structure of the EasyClone. So kind of getting it right off the main desk table there. Simply going to go through, and it's a tight fit, but it does just fit perfectly right there. So you can see again, 2x2, really maximizing the overall space that we have. Now I want to go through, make sure we're filling it full of water, and I'll show you that process. So one quick note when we're setting this up, you want to make sure, if you look very closely at the Easy Clone here, you'll notice that there's a series of numbers that work their way from 1 all the way to the number 8 on this side. And then there's a series of letters as well, H through A, that's up there. And the numbers replicate up there, the numbers replicate up there, and the letters replicate coming down here. And that's just important for identification, which you should be keeping track of anyway, but knowing what clone, what strain, what variety is in what area is important. So again, it's just helpful if you start off by organizing it in such a way and orienting it so that the entry point matches up with everything. Now if you look ahead here as I'm getting everything together, you'll notice I have the monitor in there. And again, this is just with regular tap water. So I've gone through and just taken right out of the water faucet with our Blue Labs monitor here. You can see reading 130 parts per million, 74 degrees Fahrenheit, and a pH of 7.0 to 7.1. I'm going to go through and add the necessary nutrient solution, and let's see where this ends up before we start modifying the pH at all. So as we're looking at getting our nutrient solution all ready for our clones, I choose to use Clonex clone solution, and it recommends about 5 to 10 milliliters per liter. So I use that as a general starting point. Always start on the low end and start adding. What I kind of do is start at the low end, and I use my Blue Labs monitor here to be able to dial everything in and make sure the solution that the plants will be exposed to is within the tolerances that I want. So again, this is a great kind of initial solution to start with. Works great with the Easy Clone and can kind of go right through, and just takes a little time to get everything all adjusted. And when we're adding our nutrient solution, it's very important to keep in mind of where your monitors are. So as an extreme case here, where I poured the nutrient solution happens to be exactly where the monitors were. So you can see right now growers might be a little bit in a panic with a high concentration of parts per million, a very low pH. But keep in mind, you want to let that pump run. You want to give it a couple times before you start making quick adjustments. Let it settle out, add a little bit more, till you get it dialed in. Now again, as another note, you want to be mindful that while everything looks like it's nice and sealed here, when you lift these out, you might be getting some mist that sprays out. So that's why it's important always to start or have these on hand to maintain a nice sealed environment here, because that pump is actively going and it's doing exactly what we want it to do. It's doing exactly what it wanted to do in the sense that it is spraying water, some a little bit more violently than others. But down, as I look down in there in that environment, that's exactly what we want to see. We want to see that nice heavy mist. So there might be some dead spots here and there, but for the most part, the high humidity that this does create is beneficial for rooting. Just remember, you want all of your nutrients dialed in, and you also want to be mindful of maximizing the amount of water and maximizing the amount of light, keeping air circulation, keeping all the conditions you want consistent. And again, we're watching our nutrients kind of come up and get a little bit more dialed in there. We're adding a little bit more, being incremental, not making sure we spike anything too much. Pump seems to be working great. Just be mindful that you might want to be careful in some areas. It can spray a lot of water. So you want to make sure those are all nicely sealed up before you get to your clones. And that will just help maintain the water in the environment and efficient use of that water, because it's constantly recirculating in there. And as part of the Easy Clone, we get everything dialed in. What am I shooting for? Well, I think parts per million around 720, 730, temperature around 74, and pH around 6.2. These are good initial targets to have there. Good way, that will definitely produce some quality clones. So again, once everything is dialed in, make sure everything's running well. I got the fans running, got the carbon filter set to go, and I've got all of the area here all ready for clones.